Rama, by that logic, is not a man. Rama is Paramatma, is Narayana Sakshat Avataram, who comes disguised as a man. The reason for the disguise is simply because the one Rakshasa that he is meant to kill, that is Ravana, that one Rakshasa has set a condition saying all except a mere mortal can, or nobody except a mere mortal can kill me. When we were thinking about this particular aspect is when I realized that while there are different sub-themes around the Ramayana that we can explore, I think one theme that's very critical for us to understand is the idea of Rama itself. I think after seeing and scanning through a lot of modern literature on Rama, I find that the interpretations of what Rama is, who we consider, what we consider about his acts, all of these are sometimes skewed because of our because we don't have access necessarily to the original. So I wanted this particular session to specifically focus on taking myths and assumptions around Rama and going back to the authentic source and looking specifically at them. So just as a heads up, we will not necessarily be running through the entire Ramayana. That's absolutely impossible in 35, 45 minutes or 45 hours. But what we are going to be doing is we're going to be looking at certain critical aspects of the Ramayana, certain areas where how we engage with Rama or how we understand Rama's behavior should shift. That's the hope, is that by the end of this session, we're able to understand a little bit more the cosmic view of Rama as opposed to Rama, the perfect man. I think the issue with Rama's nomenclature itself is this perfect man business. This is what Raymond said. I think it applies to the suit business, not to Rama as the character. Even before we talk about this particular episodes of the Ramayana, the first context is setting context about who Rama really is. Annamacharya, towards the end of his journey, he says something to Venkateshwara in one of his compositions. He says, "You are Jagannataka Sutradhari. You are the director of the play that is the entire world." And this has two connotations. One is that the Lord is the director and that all of us are the actors. The second is that the director himself also takes part in the play. And if you look at Swami Deshikan in the Sri Vaishnava philosophy, or you look at Adi Shankaracharya, the references that they make to the Lord himself being an actor and the goddess therefore being the heroine are so many that it is that is the concept, or that is the place where the real interpretation of the Ramayana starts. Because it's not just with the Ramayana. This is the case with all of his arrivals on earth are all basically acts. All of them are acts that have such completely contrasting emotions, such completely different contexts. In one case, he acts as a little beggar who's asking for 3 meager pieces of land. Is that not an act? In another place, he acts as if, in that bloodthirsty moment, he acts and says, "I will pull your intestines out with my nails," as Narasimha. And in another place, he acts as if that little butter is going to give him immense happiness, and he acts and he goes and steals it. So his acting is not new to us. Why we're talking about this idea of the Lord's acting is because this is that fundamental concept of Leela. Leela is what the Lord does out of play, but it is not a frivolous play. Leela has something hidden behind it. So when the Lord is at play, the way he conducts his acting is so perfect and so spot on. One cannot point a finger at his acting and say, this is not okay, or I found a slight flaw here. This idea is what is the core of the Ramayana. So Rama, by that logic, is not a man. Rama is Paramatma, is Narayana Sakshat Avataram, who comes disguised as a man. The reason for the disguise is simply because the one Rakshasa that he is meant to kill, that is Ravana, that one Rakshasa has set a condition saying all except a mere mortal can, or nobody except a mere mortal can kill me. Now, this idea of mere, of only a mortal, this is what causes Ravana's downfall. One, Two, this concept is recurring in Puranas. When Ravana says it, he asks, saying, should only be a mere mortal can kill me, because he doesn't consider them worthy enough. In Mahishasura's case, he doesn't consider a woman worthy enough to kill him. So each of these people, whenever they set a condition, they have earned that tapas. Ravanasura has gone and done tapas for it, and he said, based on my tapas, this is what I'm asking for. So when he asks this, saying, what is a mere mortal after all? Narayana's response to that, Narayana, as much as he is about protecting Sajjanas, he will also give it back to Durjanas in an appropriate manner. And let's not forget who Ravana really is. Ravana is one of Narayana's own gatekeepers, Jaya and Vijaya, who has come onto earth because of a long curse. That is another story for another day. But this context of why, if you look between Rama and Krishna, Krishna doesn't have any of these restrictions. When he needs to, he expresses his divinity. From his birth onwards, there are just constantly miracles happening on the Kurukshetra Bhumi. When he has to hide the sun, he hides it with his Sudarshan Chakra. He doesn't hesitate because he has no conditions. Nobody has said that, only if God comes as a man, he can kill me. But in Rama Avatara, Ravana has one condition, saying that I will not be killed by anybody except a mere man. So when Rama honors that condition, he honors it to the T. This idea that he is Paramatma disguised as a man, that should set the context for what we understand of Rama, because then we understand that it is not a man who is either perfect, it is not a man who is just trying to work his way around complex situations and then we add layers of interpretation on it. It is Paramatma's arrival on earth, and that arrival goes through sequences and it goes through such beautiful shifts that we start understanding and appreciating Paramatma better. That is the effect, that is the real focus of the Ramayana. So before we go into certain areas that need more in-depth exploration, let's just take one beautiful idea of 3 ways of looking at Rama that are extremely constant through the Ramayana. There are only 3 ways. If you look through the entire epic, there are effectively only 3 ways that Rama is looked at. One is for Dasharatha and Kausalya and all of them, that is Sumitra, all of them. Rama is only my child. They see him with so much love, they see him with so much of joy that they are only viewing him in that mind. That's not wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong in it. The second way is Ravana's way, who says he's only a man. This is the second way. The third way is what the Rishis know, that he is Paramatma. You look at the Ramayana, the Rishis throughout are the ones who are guiding the path of Rama. Right from the start of Vishwamitra's arrival to when Rama's Vanvasam begins, from Sharabhanga to Datta, to Atri Muni, to Agastya Muni, his entire journey of his Vanvasam is dotted with meeting several Rishis because they push him in certain direction. He goes to meet one Rishi and then that Rishi tells him, go a little further down south from here, you will see Agastya's ashrama. There you can pick up the bow that you need. So the Rishis push him in a certain direction. Why? Because the Rishis know that he is going to come. They know that Rama is going to come years before Rama comes. When do they know this? And this is the very critical point where, look at Gautama and Ahalya's story. Again, a story that has gone through so many patriarchal retellings that it has become something else altogether. What is the story that we know? The story that we know is that Gautama curses Ahalya and says, become a stone, and then one day Rama will step into this hermitage and place his foot on you, and then that stone will be removed. But if you go back to the Valmiki Ramayana, firstly, the curse that Gautama gives her does not even mention the word stone. There is absolutely no reference to this word. The words that he uses are specifically Nirahara. Go, turn your senses within. What he says to her is, turn your senses within such that you are unaccessible and you are not seen by the external world. This is the idea of becoming a stone. It is not physically a stone. It is go so strong inward and view Paramatma alone that you will not be seen by anybody else. Bhasma Shayinis, lie down on Bhasma, lie down on such a basic substance that you are only in communion with the Lord. And then, years later, the Lord will come and the Lord will redeem you of this curse. By then your tapas would have fructified. Now when Gautama says this, is it a shapa or is it a rishi giving her an instruction for her own journey to blossom? And in that moment, so as per the Valmiki Ramayana, this is what happens. There is no mention of stone. And the second important aspect is when Rama steps into the hermitage, this is the beauty. Now, Rama, Lakshmana and Vishwamitra step in. But if you read the Ramayana, the second all 3 of them step in, Ahalya opens her eyes and she looks at Rama first. He didn't have a placard saying, I am Rama. How does she identify? Gautama does not describe Rama will come holding a bow, Rama will come in this color, nothing. He says Dasharatha's putra will come. That's all he says. But she immediately identifies. This is her tapaphalam. So Rama is the phala, he is the fruit of tapas for endless rishis, be it male, be it female. And Rama is so moved. Paramatma, the Rama's avataram is one avataram where Paramatma is so moved by his bhaktas that he does what we don't see in any other cases. In this case, he does not touch Ahalya with his foot at all. The moment Ahalya looks at them, Rama and Lakshmana touch Ahalya's feet. Why I'm saying this is because how we interpret a story like this is very important to understanding the characters that are involved. Ahalya is not a wayward character who further downslid. Ahalya is a Mahatapasvi, Tapaswini Mahabhaga she is called. For her to see Rama, to have that darshanam, that is a completeness of her sadhana. So Rama's journey, in many senses, I don't know if several of you probably are familiar with this plant called Touch Me Not. But as you touch, each of them just goes inside. Rama's journey is like that. As he's walking along, rishi by rishi, tapasvi by tapasvi, who has been waiting for him, they just open up, or they just go in internally so long that there's no more journey for them anymore. So this is just one such instance in particular that looks into how Rama shifts the gaze from externally them seeing Rama to internally what happens to Rama. Then if you go through the rest of the story, there are hints in this particular story that this is not the story of a man. Look at the context of Vishwamitra pulling Rama out itself. Vishwamitra comes to Dasharatha. Vishwamitra, who is the Gayatri Mantra Drashta, is so powerful that he had raised an entire army against Vasishtha, as per another Puranic record. Can such a man who has seen Gayatri Devi herself, can he not protect his own yajna? Is he not that capable? But he comes here and he says, I need your son to come with me. He doesn't tell Dasharatha, I need you. He does not say, I need Sena. He says, I need your son to come with me. And then Dasharatha immediately says, absolutely not, because that is the first way of looking at Rama, my child. So he says, no, I can't send him. You take me, you take my entire army. But but Vishwamitra is insistent. And then he says something which is very strange to Dasharatha. He says, I know who your son really is. You send him with me. This is where, the Valmiki also just couldn't contain himself. Valmiki is also going as per this acting and the script. But there are just areas where he has to kind of like poke out and he'll give us a little bit hint that, okay, it's Paramatma I'm talking about. And imagine what an offensive comment this is to a parent. If anybody comes to a parent and says, you don't know who your child is, I know who your child is, that's extremely offensive. But Dasharatha doesn't take offense. Dasharatha doesn't know what comes over him. He just says, take him and go. And Lakshmana is not asked to come. Lakshmana comes of his own accord. This idea of Rama and Lakshmana being together, the Ramayana is not just a story of Rama and Lakshmana and Sita going through several experiences. The Ramayana combines yogic secrets, it combines astrological secrets, it combines tattvic secrets, and each of them represents itself at a different place. The idea of Rama and Lakshmana being together, Namostu Ramaya sa Lakshmanaya, we say, Rama and Lakshmana being together is always a Raksha Murti. You look throughout the Ramayana, you will see Rama even without Sita at some places, but you will not for a second see Rama without Lakshmana. Sannabdha Kavachi Khadgi Chapabana Dharo Yuva Gachan Manorathamyacha Rama Patu Salakshmana. May Rama with Lakshmana protect me eternally, because that is how they eternally manifest. And this is seen in stories of several bhaktas who, when Rama had to come and defend them, he always brings his brother Lakshmana along. That is the mantra swarupam that gets invoked in that particular moment. So Vishwamitra, who doesn't have any requirement to actually bring this, what is the real purpose? The real purpose is the rishis have done so much tapas that they know that Narayana has descended. And Narayana has descended in such a perfect way that this actor/director has set the stage even before he has come. Before Rama's birth, he tells all the devatas in Swarga, listen, I'm about to go. Can you please get into your respective costumes? So he looks at Surya and he says, can you send your son? Surya's son goes as Sugriva. He looks at Indra and he says, can you send your son? Indra's son comes as Vali. So every single character, every Vanara that comes is preparing for the main hero of the play to arrive. And the heroine will take 2 hours of discussion in herself. So we're not going to talk specifically about Sita, unfortunately, today. But from when the Lord sets the stage like that and Vishwamitra comes and says, I need your son, Vishwamitra knows one thing. If I need to move Rama out, because up till then Rama's childhood is going on, Kausalya and Dasharatha are thrilled, everything is moving on. But Vishwamitra knows one thing. Rama's purpose is to kill Ravana. Now if this purpose has to be achieved, he needs to be moved out of Ayodhya and down all the way to Lanka. What is the way to do this? I can do it rishi by rishi by rishi by rishi, but it will go on and on and on this game. There is only one way to do it. I'll just take him and put him in her hands she'll move the rest of the story. That's all that needs to be done. That's exactly what Vishwamitra does. Vishwamitra's Yajna Rakshaka, the idea of protecting Vishwamitra's Yajna, is just a pretext. On that pretext, what he says is, now the yajnam is over, now my yajnam is completed and successful. I believe in Mithila, Janaka is doing a yajnam. As I've mentioned before, and some of you have been on the talk that we've had about Sita as well, there is no Sita Swayamvara. Janaka is having a yajnam, and Vishwamitra takes Rama and Lakshmana over there. Then we know that Sita Kalyanam happens. Here also, there is a yogic significance here to the idea of Sita Kalyanam. Why is it connected to Dhanurbhangam? Dhanurbhangam is the idea of the bow breaking. The idea of a bow is here in the Ajna Chakram. The Ajna Chakram is a bow between the two eyebrows, that exact spot. When the sadhaka, or when the Kundalini rises till this point, the Kundalini from the Mooladhara crosses the 5 chakras and reaches the Ajna Chakra, there is only one step between here and the Sahasrara Chakram for it to make that final journey. When the Kundalini reaches the Sahasrara Chakram, the sadhaka is united with the Lord. That idea of uniting Parvati and Parameshwara is reflected in how that bow breaks over here, and who that bow here is called Shiva Grantha, Rudra Grantha Vibhevini, as we know in the Lalita Sahasranama. That Rudra Grantham, when that Rudra Grantham breaks, Parvati and Parameshwara are united. When that Rudra Grantham breaks in Mithila, Sita and Rama are united. So what looks like a very fascinating story externally is a yogic idea that happens. So when you read Sita Kalyanam, knowingly or unknowingly, the Prana Shakti in the Ajna Chakra increases. So these are some hints that are coming that Rama is not just a man trying to cover up for some actions that he has to do. But when he comes as a man, his acting is so spotless that there is not one place that you can point and say, aha, he gave it away. Because if he gives it away, Ravana's condition will not be met. And he will honor any bhakta's condition. Ravana is also a bhakta, different kind of bhakta, but Rama's dharma is to honor that. So there is only one beautiful place in the Yuddha Kanda where before the Setu Bandhanam is about to happen, the bridge is about to be built between, is being built between Rameshwaram and Lanka. And at that point, Vibhishana comes. Vibhishana Sharanagati happens when he immediately comes and he says, I have forsaken my brother, I have forsaken the entire kingdom. I want to be able to, offer, I want to offer myself to you. Then Rama takes a counsel and he asks all the Vanaras, what do you think? And one by one, they all give their opinion, saying he has come from the enemy party. There is every reason that he may be a spy here. We don't trust him. But again, the Ramayana is giving such beautiful hints throughout. There are only 3 characters that think identical throughout the Ramayana who speak identically also. Rama, Sita and Hanuman. Their words match each other. What she says in Lanka sitting there, unknowingly he's saying the exact same thing sitting in Sugriva's camp. What Hanuman says before he leaves for Lanka is exactly what Rama says when he gives Hanuman the Chudamani. So each of these characters, they think alike because these are the 3 direct manifestations of Parabrahma without any dilution whatsoever. So in the Yuddha Kandam, when this moment is happening, when everybody is taking counsel, Hanuman says, let's trust him because he has offered himself to you and there is no reason to step forward. At that point, Rama's Narayanatvam comes out because till then he's hidden it saying, yes, I'm a man. But at that point, somebody has offered their soul to him. In that moment, he's no longer a man. He's completely Narayana himself. That is why he makes that iconic statement at that point, which is, Abhayam sarvabhutebhyaha dadami yetat vratam mama. Abhayam sarvabhutebhyaha. Which man can say this? He did not say, I will give abhaya, I will give fearlessness, I will grant fearlessness to just my men. He said, I will give it to every bhuta, every living creature. Dadhami yetat vratam mama. This is my vratam. This is something I have vowed down to do. To be able to say that, is it possible for a human being? This is something. Can any human being just say, I'll give every being in this universe protection? That is something only Paramatma can say. That one line he took and wrote 700 slokas in his next avatara called Krishna Avatara, where Bhagavad Gita says exactly this. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam. There, that exact bhavam. But here he said it. So it came out a little bit, then immediately he took it back and he said, so therefore I will give Vibhishana Sharanagati, because this actor is fantastically doing his job. Then, of course, we know what happens. He goes and Ravana's death happens. Now, here comes the problematic lens with respect to the Agni Pariksha. The Agni Pariksha, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this, is because the Agni Pariksha's retelling in modern lore is something that has come to be synonymous with patriarchy. it is something that has become a symbol of female oppression. And this is very unfortunate because a linear reading of the Ramayana will lead us to such simple conclusions. Something that often gets said, and I also used to believe this before I had access to the original sources, was I used to think the Mahabharata has a lot more shades of characters, whereas the Ramayana is a lot more black and white. But if you look at the depth of the characters in the Ramayana, they are so mind-blowing that they leave you showing you all the Navarasas. There is a beautiful slokam that says Shringare Kshitinandinim, which begins the Navarasas and how Rama depicts each of the Navarasas. When Shringara Bhavam is shown when he is with Sita. Rautra Bhavam is when he's killing Rakshasas. Each of these Navarasas is described. But when we look into this particular aspect of how not just the Navarasas throughout the Ramayana, but in one particular moment, how does he balance those different rasas? Now take this moment when the Agni Pariksha itself happens. Now, as per, I just want to give this disclaimer that everything I'm saying is based on the Valmiki Ramayana. It is not on any other Ramayana in this particular case, nor is it a personal interpretation. This is necessary because we are going close to the source. So in the Valmiki Ramayana, as soon as Ravana is killed, Rama's Pradhana Karyam is complete. His mission is successful. Now, when he steps out of the battlefield, Sita is being bedecked by all the Trijata and the other Rakshasis. They've all bedecked her. And just look at that moment, right? She is meeting her husband after 11 long months and even 11 traumatic months, mentally as well. In fact, the Ramayana is one of the first granthas across all ancient literature to speak of mental health, because it speaks about Sita's depression, it speaks about Hanuman's dejection, and how they deal with concepts of mental health. So in a time when toxic positivity is prevailing and we feel like, yeah, just think positive, everything will be okay, the Ramayana unabashedly talks about why mental health is important and why it's important to look at it for what it is. I also know that Vishwa Foundation is doing some phenomenal work in terms of supporting Roshni and other organizations that are looking into mental health. So also using this to appeal to all of you to support your own mental health, and if you can, support causes that are looking into mental health, because as the Ramayana is telling us, it is something necessary for all of us.